Did you know that the world's first billionaire was born into a humble family and turned oil into gold? John D. Rockefeller wasn't just the wealthiest man of his time. He redefined capitalism and shaped modern society. But how did he achieve such an extraordinary feat? And more importantly, what can his story teach us about ambition, strategy, and legacy? Get ready to uncover the mysteries of one of the most influential and controversial figures in history, and discover how his principles can still transform lives today. Childhood and early influences. John Davison Rockefeller was born in 1839 on a modest farm in upstate New York, in an environment that seemed unlikely to produce the world's richest man. His father, William, was a charismatic yet dubious traveling salesman, while his mother, Eliza, was deeply religious and disciplined. These figures shaped John's character, a blend of pragmatism and strong moral ethic. From an early age, he showed an extraordinary curiosity for saving and managing money. As a child, he began to save every penny he earned, which would become a hallmark of his life. The simplicity of his childhood contrasted with his exceptional business acumen. At just 12, he was already lending money to neighbors with interest, displaying an early financial instinct. This practice not only showed his ability to assess risks, but also his belief in reinvesting small gains for bigger returns. He firmly believed that success started with small, consistent steps. The family faced financial struggle, forcing Rockefeller to mature quickly. The need to contribute to the household's income led him to develop a remarkable work ethic. From selling potatoes to caring for animals, he was always involved in tasks that taught him the value of hard work. This direct connection to manual labor laid the foundation for his pragmatic business view. Rockefeller's education also played a significant role. Although he didn't attend college, he greatly valued practical learning. He completed a brief accounting course where he learned to meticulously record revenues and expenses, the same precision he would later apply to managing his venture. This simple step was a turning point in his journey. John was also a keen observer, influenced by the lessons he absorbed at church. He internalized values like discipline, perseverance, and charity, which later shaped his approach to wealth. Instead of spending impulsively, he viewed money as a tool to create opportunities and achieve greater goals. His unwavering faith gave him a sense of purpose and responsibility. Another notable trait was his ability to remain calm in challenging situations. From a young age, he demonstrated incredible resilience in the face of adversity. While other children reacted with frustration to poverty, he used hardships as fuel to nurture his dreams. This inner strength set him apart early on. Thus, Rockefeller's childhood might seem ordinary at first glance, but it was filled with mysteries and extraordinary lessons. His ability to turn simple experiences into solid foundations for his future career was a sign of what was to come. After all, he was just beginning to shape the incredible journey that, as we'll see, would be marked by innovation and global impact. Entering the business world at 16, Rockefeller began his first formal experience in business as an accounting assistant at a small company in Cleveland, Ohio. With an initial salary of just 50 cents per day, he treated every penny as a step toward success. This was his first major opportunity to apply the organizational and calculation skills he had learned in his childhood. He stood out among his peers for his extraordinary curiosity and dedication, carefully noting every financial detail and learning the ins and outs of trade. This period was crucial in shaping the foundation of his career. A few years later, at 20, John D. Rockefeller decided it was time to take a bold step, start his own business. He partnered with Morris Clark, a colleague who shared his vision for growth, to create the firm Clark and Rockefeller. Focused on brokering grains and meats, the small business quickly thrived. Rockefeller showed rare intelligence in negotiating competitive prices and managing cash flow with surgical precision. His ability to identify opportunities others ignored set him apart as an innovative entrepreneur. One key factor in Rockefeller's rise was his ability to form strategic alliances. He didn't view his competitors as enemies but as potential partners. This influential approach allowed him to navigate market challenges with less conflict and more results. Furthermore, he always thoroughly studied each sector before entering it. ensuring he was prepared to face any obstacle. He had a planning mindset, rare in an era when many businessmen acted impulsive. As his company grew, Rockefeller began to explore other industries, and this is where he displayed a historical vision for business. He recognized the extraordinary potential of oil, which was just beginning to revolutionize the industry at the time. Driven by a mix of curiosity and ambition, Rockefeller knew that oil wasn't just a resource, but a golden opportunity to create something truly impactful. This decision would mark the beginning of his journey in the energy sector, but the path wasn't easy. Rockefeller faced financial challenges, fierce competition, and skepticism from investors. Despite this, he remained steadfast, believing that patience and persistence were his greatest ally. He carefully reinvested profit, never spending more than necessary. For him, the key to success was building a solid foundation before aiming for great results. This principle would be his philosophy throughout his life. Another fascinating aspect was his ability to learn from others' mistakes. He observed how other businesses failed due to lack of planning or hasty decision, and did the opposite. This strategy put him ahead of his peers. Rockefeller believed that every decision should be made intelligently, based on concrete facts rather than momentary emotion. This methodical approach allowed him to advance with confidence in the business world. Rockefeller's entry into the market was only the beginning of something much bigger. His ambition and intelligence were laying the groundwork for an empire that would soon change the course of history. But there was more to uncover. The next step would be the creation of the legendary Standard Oil, which would solidify his position as one of the biggest names in capitalism. The creation of Standard Oil in 1870, at 31, John D. Rockefeller founded Standard Oil, a venture that would forever change the global economic landscape. He entered the oil market with a clear vision: to dominate the production and distribution chain, to make fuel accessible and reliable. Rockefeller realized that oil, previously exploited in a disorganized manner, had extraordinary potential to revolutionize the industry and everyday life. His focus on efficiency and innovation began a historic journey of unprecedented growth. The start was modest but meticulously planned. Rockefeller knew that the key to success was controlling every aspect of the business, from oil extraction to distribution. He invested heavily in refineries, modernizing them to reduce costs and increase productivity. This was uncommon at the time, but his strategic intelligence allowed him to see beyond the present. He believed that to stand out, he needed to offer something better, cheaper, and more reliable than his competitor. With Standard Oil, Rockefeller introduced revolutionary practices in the market. He pioneered long-term contracts with suppliers and railroads, securing lower transportation costs. This influential approach solidified his position in the sector, enabling him to offer oil at prices no one could compete with. This strategy not only increased his market share but also attracted the curiosity of investors, who saw him as a visionary leader. However, Standard Oil's rise was not without controversy. Many accused him of using aggressive tactics to eliminate competitors, such as offering exclusive discounts and even buying struggling rival companies. To Rockefeller, this wasn't immoral but rather a smart strategy to consolidate a fragmented market. He believed that efficiency was more important than unchecked competition. Still, this approach generated criticism, and he quickly became a polarizing figure. Despite the backlash, the extraordinary impact of Standard Oil on the energy sector is undeniable. Rockefeller transformed a chaotic industry into a well-structured system, raising standards for quality and safety. He created a business model that would be studied for generations, demonstrating how vertical integration and complete control over the value chain could lead to success. His method was innovative and influential, shaping modern capitalism. Another notable point was his ability to diversify. Rockefeller understood that oil wasn't just fuel for lamps, but also the base for many other products, such as lubricants and asphalt. He explored these markets with intelligence, expanding Standard Oil's reach even further. This long-term vision ensured that the company not only survived changes in demand, but led the transformation of society. The creation of Standard Oil cemented John D. Rockefeller as one of the smartest and most influential businessmen of his era. He built an empire that didn't just revolutionize the economy, but also redefined the limits of what was possible for a single individual. But this success, as we will see next, also brought controversies and challenges that would shape his life and reputation. The monopoly and controversies. As Standard Oil grew, Rockefeller solidified his position as the dominant figure in the oil industry. But this also placed him at the heart of intense controversy. His business model, based on vertical integration and absolute market dominance, quickly became synonymous with monopoly. Controlling over 90% of the oil production and distribution in the United States, he sparked both admiration and resistance. To many, he was a business genius. To others, a corporate tyrant. One of his most criticized practices was negotiating exclusive discounts with railroads. Rockefeller used his influence to secure reduced transportation rates for oil, while his competitors paid higher prices. This gave him a tremendous advantage, but it also raised questions about unfair business practice. Public curiosity about his methods grew, fueled by reports and investigations that painted him as a controversial figure. Additionally, Rockefeller strategically bought out competitors. He would often offer the owners of rival companies a straightforward choice: sell to Standard Oil for a good price, or face financial ruin. Many opted for the first option, but critics viewed this as coercion. The debate over whether his approach was ethical divided public opinion, but his intelligence in anticipating market movements was undeniable. The government also began to take notice of his growing empire. In 1890, the Sherman Antitrust Act was passed, a law designed to combat monopolies and anti-competitive practice. Although the law initially had little direct impact on Standard Oil, it marked the beginning of a long battle between Rockefeller and regulatory authorities. This struggle would culminate years later when the company was deemed an illegal monopoly and forced to break into several smaller entities. Despite the controversy, Rockefeller maintained a calm, methodical demeanor. He rarely responded publicly to criticism, preferring to focus on expanding and consolidating his business. His philosophy was clear: competition is a sin. For him, eliminating market fragmentation was a necessary step to achieve efficiency and benefit consumers. It was a bold vision, and for many, innovative. But it also raised concerns about the limits of corporate power. The historical impact of Standard Oil's monopoly was profound. On one hand, it brought extraordinary advances in energy distribution, making oil more accessible and reliable for millions. On the other hand, it raised fundamental questions about the balance between innovation and regulation. Rockefeller became not only the symbol of business success, but also the center of a growing debate about the dangers of concentrated economic power. The controversy surrounding Rockefeller was as vast as his fortune, but it didn't deter him. He continued expanding his business vision, always seeking new ways to grow and diversify. However, his story wasn't just about power and wealth. As we'll see next, he would begin to channel his fortune into causes that would profoundly and lastingly change society. The fortune and expansion strategies. John D. Rockefeller's extraordinary fortune began to take shape during the early years of Standard Oil. But it was his ability to reinvest and expand that led him to become the world's first billionaire. He understood that the secret wasn't just in making money, but in making it grow continuously. Therefore, he developed a business model that went beyond oil. He expanded into global market, invested in infrastructure, and diversified his operations into other strategic sectors. His financial intelligence reflected his innovative and strategic mind. One of the most impressive aspects of his trajectory was the way he organized his operation. Rockefeller implemented a centralized control system that allowed him to closely monitor all areas of the business, from operational costs to profit. He believed that details were crucial and that every decision, no matter how small, should be based on concrete data. His discipline in keeping everything documented helped minimize waste and maximize profit. Additionally, Rockefeller was a master at identifying expansion opportunities. He pioneered the export of oil to Europe and other parts of the world, ensuring that Standard Oil didn't rely solely on the North American market. This global vision was innovative for its time and showcased his ability to think beyond borders. He believed that curiosity and constant study of markets were key to spotting trends and opening up extraordinary paths. Another remarkable strategy was his adaptability. When the market began to shift and electricity started replacing oil as a source of lighting, Rockefeller didn't retreat. Instead, he redirected Standard Oil's efforts to the production of automobile fuel, a market that was just beginning, but that he knew would be crucial in the future. His ability to anticipate industrial transformations was a hallmark of his intelligence and resilience. The nature of his investments was also diversified. Beyond oil, Rockefeller invested in banks, railroads, and real estate, building a network of assets that protected him from market fluctuation. He understood that, to maintain his fortune, diversification was essential. This approach became a historic example of how financial strategy can create lasting impact. Over time, Rockefeller's fortune grew to such an extent that he began to be seen as a near mythical figure. At one point, his wealth equaled about 2% of the US GDP, something unimaginable for any individual. This influence not only placed him among the most powerful men of his era, but also sparked debates about the role of wealth in a capitalist society. But Rockefeller's relationship with money was more complex than simply accumulating it. He believed that wealth had a purpose and should be used intelligently to benefit humanity. This mindset paved the way for his transition from relentless magnate to influential philanthropist, a chapter we will explore next, where his fortune would begin to transform lives on a global scale. Revolutionary philanthropy. John D. Rockefeller did not view his fortune solely as a means to personal comfort, but as an opportunity to transform society. When his wealth reached historic levels, he decided to channel it into causes that could create lasting impact. He believed that money, when used wisely, could solve extraordinary problems and promote human progress. This vision marked the beginning of a revolutionary approach to philanthropy. Rockefeller founded several philanthropic organizations, with the Rockefeller Foundation being the most notable. Established in 1913, its mission was to improve the well-being of humanity on a global scale. Its projects ranged from promoting public health to advancing education and combating poverty. The foundation funded innovative initiatives such as eradicating yellow fever and reforming medical education, showing a genuine concern for addressing the greatest challenges of the time. One area where his philanthropy had the greatest impact was health. Rockefeller invested millions in scientific research, supporting laboratories and scientists at the forefront of medicine. He believed that the solution to many of humanity's mysteries lay in science, and that financing progress in this area was a responsibility for those with the resources. His donations enabled incredible advances, such as the creation of vaccines and the modernization of hospitals. In education, his contribution was equally remarkable. He founded the University of Chicago in 1890, investing generously to transform it into a world-class academic institution. Furthermore, he supported programs that expanded access to education for disadvantaged communities, believing that knowledge was the key to a better future. His long-term vision helped shape generations of leaders and innovators. Rockefeller also had a special interest in agriculture and food security. He funded projects aimed at improving agricultural productivity in impoverished regions, helping to combat hunger and promote economic development. The idea was simple but powerful: teach people how to make better use of the resources they had, creating sustainable solutions to long-standing problems. Rockefeller's approach to philanthropy was different because he applied the same business principles that had made him successful. He insisted on measurable results and believed that every dollar invested should have the greatest possible impact. This influential methodology redefined how philanthropy was viewed and practiced, inspiring other wealthy individuals to take a more active role in their giving. Though his philanthropy was widely praised, it wasn't without controversy. Some critics questioned whether his donations were an attempt to clean up the image of a businessman whose fortune was built on monopolistic practices. However, the positive impact of his initiatives is undeniable, benefiting millions of people around the world. Rockefeller was just beginning to explore the transformative potential of his wealth. As he delved more deeply into the fields of health and education, it became clear that his goal was to create a legacy that extended far beyond business. In the next section, we'll see how he advanced this mission, reshaping the fields of health and education in innovative and lasting ways. Impact on health and education sectors. John D. Rockefeller didn't just contribute to health and education, he literally redefined them. His commitment to transforming these areas stemmed from his belief that true wealth lay in creating opportunities for all to thrive. He understood that solving complex social problems required innovation, persistence, and, of course, significant resources. Through his foundations and projects, he ushered in an era of strategic philanthropy, one that didn't just address problems but attacked them at their roots. In health, Rockefeller's impact was revolutionary. He founded the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research, which later became Rockefeller University, dedicated to discovering the causes and cures of diseases. This institution attracted some of the world's greatest scientists, leading to extraordinary breakthroughs such as the identification of the polio virus. Rockefeller also invested in public health campaigns to combat tropical diseases such as malaria and yellow fever, saving millions of lives and transforming entire regions. One of Rockefeller's most notable achievements in health was the establishment of the General Education Board. He invested heavily in the training of doctors and nurses, recognizing that skilled professionals were essential for improving the healthcare system. In addition, he financed hospitals and research centers around the world. This approach not only treated diseases but also strengthened the foundation for a more efficient and accessible public health system. In the field of education, Rockefeller was equally visionary. He realized that societal progress depended on an educated and well-informed population. His foundation supported schools in underserved communities, especially in the southern United States, where access to education was limited. He also funded programs aimed at improving the quality of teaching, introducing innovative methods that would be adopted nationwide. One of his most ambitious projects was the founding of the University of Chicago, which quickly became one of the world's most respected institutions of higher learning. Rockefeller not only provided financial resources, but also demanded that the university seek academic excellence and be accessible to students from diverse backgrounds. He believed that education should be a vehicle for social transformation. Additionally, he had a holistic view of educational development. Rockefeller supported research in the social sciences and humanities, arguing that understanding the mysteries of human behavior was as important as discovering new technology. This multidisciplinary approach influenced the development of public policies and the understanding of social relationships. The historical impact of Rockefeller on health and education is immeasurable. He didn't just change the present, he shaped the future, creating structures that would continue to benefit humanity long after his death. He demonstrated that intelligence, combined with resources, could generate extraordinary progress. And while it was already clear how influential he had become, his journey still held one unique milestone: the title of the world's first billionaire, a feat that would cement his place as one of the most fascinating figures in the history of capitalism. Rising to the title of first billionaire in the world in 1916, John D. Rockefeller achieved an extraordinary feat. He became the world's first billionaire. At a time when the word billionaire wasn't even part of common vocabulary, his fortune was so vast that it generated both admiration and awe. This milestone wasn't just a reflection of his business success, but also the result of decades of strategic planning, innovation, and unparalleled market mastery. The path to this title began with the exponential growth of Standard Oil. The company was not merely a dominant player in the oil sector, it set the rules. Rockefeller controlled an extensive network of refineries, pipelines, tankers, and distribution points, ensuring vertical integration that allowed him to maximize profits at every stage of the process. The efficiency of his operations was so impressive that he was able to offer high-quality products at lower prices than any competitor. But the secret to his rise went beyond oil. Rockefeller was a master at diversifying his investment. He allocated part of his fortune into sectors like banking, railroads, and mining, which shielded him from market fluctuation. This strategy of expansion helped solidify his fortune to an unprecedented level, making him an influential figure not only in the industry but across the entire U.S. economy. One of the most fascinating aspects of Rockefeller was his long-term vision. He wasn't seeking wealth to spend it extravagantly, but to multiply. While many of his contemporaries were content with immediate profit, he continuously reinvested, creating a cycle of sustainable growth. This mentality was extraordinary for the time and demonstrated his ability to see the future clearly. However, being the world's first billionaire also brought challenges. His colossal fortune sparked both curiosity and criticism from the public. Some saw him as a symbol of inspiration, proving that hard work and intelligence could lead to success. Others accused him of exploiting the system and hoarding wealth excessively. This polarization made Rockefeller a figure who was both admired and controversial. Moreover, government regulation began to impose limits on his empire. The Supreme Court's 1911 decision to break up Standard Oil into several smaller companies didn't reduce his wealth. In fact, the stock prices of these companies soared, further increasing his fortune. Once again, Rockefeller demonstrated his ability to turn challenges into opportunity. The billion-dollar mark wasn't just a number. It was a symbol of his global impact. He redefined what it meant to be wealthy and influential, paving the way for future generations to aspire to levels of success previously unimaginable. But, as we will see in the next section, his true influence didn't lie only in the money he accumulated, but in the capitalist model he helped shape and the legacy he left for the future. Rockefeller's influence on modern capitalism. John D. Rockefeller didn't just accumulate wealth, he redefined the fundamentals of capitalism. His extraordinary vision, innovative methods, and relentless ambition created a business model that became a standard for corporations worldwide. The impact of his management strategy, expansion tactics, and innovation continues to resonate today, shaping what we know as modern capitalism. He proved that intelligent, strategic planning and efficiency could transform entire industries and influence national economies. One of Rockefeller's most significant contributions was vertical integration. He demonstrated that controlling every step of a production chain not only reduced costs, but also created unprecedented operational efficiency. This innovative approach was adopted by companies across various sectors, from technology to manufacturing, seeking to replicate his formula for success. Standard Oil was the perfect laboratory for this experiment, and its results were historic. Additionally, Rockefeller was a pioneer in anticipating market trends. He understood that capitalism wasn't just about competition, but about creating structures that allowed for sustainable growth. This vision led him to invest in infrastructure and innovation, ensuring his company remained relevant during times of change. His relentless curiosity about new opportunities and his commitment to efficiency are traits that are still taught in business schools today. Another influential aspect was his approach to diversification. Rockefeller knew that depending on one sector was risky. Therefore, he applied his fortune in areas like banking, transportation, and real estate, building a robust portfolio that could withstand market downturns. This strategic thinking was one of the reasons he managed to thrive even after Standard Oil was broken up. Modern companies continue to follow this philosophy, understanding that diversification is essential to survive in the globalized capitalist market. His influence also extended to the regulatory field. The monopoly practices of Standard Oil led to the creation of antitrust legislation, such as the Sherman Antitrust Act. Paradoxically, while his company faced sanctions, Rockefeller helped shape a more balanced system where competition was encouraged. He became the ultimate example of both the benefits and dangers of corporate power, leaving a lasting lesson about the limits of capitalism. Rockefeller was also a precursor to corporate social responsibility. He believed that profits should not just be accumulated but reinvested into society. His philanthropy inspired companies to adopt more ethical practices, funding social, educational, and healthcare projects. This movement gained momentum in the 20th century and remains relevant today, with large corporations following the model he helped create. Finally, Rockefeller embodied the ideal of the self-made man, one of the cornerstones of the American dream. His journey from a humble young man to a global magnate continues to inspire entrepreneurs seeking to achieve extraordinary feats. He proved that intelligence and determination could overcome even the most adverse circumstances. But his true genius was his ability to leave a legacy that extended beyond his own life. With his contributions to capitalism, Rockefeller not only shaped his era, but also paved the way for the future. And by looking at the enduring impact of his action, it's impossible to ignore the eternal legacy he left, a theme we'll explore in the next and final section. John D. Rockefeller's eternal legacy. The legacy of John D. Rockefeller is as vast as his fortune. Even decades after his death, his influence still resonates in the world of business, philanthropy, and how society understands the power of capital. Rockefeller was not just a magnate. He was an architect of a new type of capitalism, where innovation, efficiency, and social responsibility intertwined. He left an indelible mark, one that continues to inspire and challenge future generations. His most visible contribution lies in the business. Rockefeller set standards of excellence that shaped global corporations. Vertical integration, diversification strategies, and meticulous management practices he implemented at Standard Oil continue to be studied and replicated. His name is synonymous with intelligence and discipline in business quality that define successful leaders today. He showed that with planning and vision, it was possible to transform an entire industry. But Rockefeller's impact goes far beyond business. He was a pioneer in modern philanthropy, creating a model based on measurable results and lasting impact. His Rockefeller Foundation, still active today, has funded initiatives that changed lives in areas like health, education, and scientific development. The eradication of yellow fever, for example, is one of the most notable achievements made possible by his investment. Rockefeller demonstrated that wealth could be an extraordinary force for good. In education, his legacy is equally impressive. He believed that knowledge was the foundation for human progress and generously invested in universities and schools. Institutions like the University of Chicago and Rockefeller University remain symbols of his vision. Furthermore, he supported educational projects in underserved communities, promoting access to education for those who otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity. Another fascinating aspect of his legacy was the transformation of the healthcare sector. Rockefeller was responsible for funding research and medical advances that saved millions of lives. He believed that science held the key to unraveling mysteries and improving quality of life. This conviction led him to fund laboratories and hospitals, creating an impact that is still felt around the world today. Death. Despite his controversial figure, Rockefeller inspired fundamental changes in capitalism and society. He symbolizes both the potential of entrepreneurship and the limits of corporate power, serving as a complex example that continues to spark debates. His name is etched not just in history, but in the institutions he helped create, many of which continue to influence the world positively. Rockefeller's legacy is not just about what he achieved, but about how he used his wealth to shape the future. He left precious lessons on ambition, responsibility, and innovation. His example reminds us that true greatness lies in transforming not just our own lives but the lives of millions. And even after more than a century, his story continues to be a source of inspiration and learning for all who dare to dream big. John D. Rockefeller wasn't just a businessman. He was an architect of change. His story teaches us that extraordinary success isn't the result of chance, but of vision, discipline, and determination. And you? How are you using the resources you have today to transform your own story? If you could apply one lesson from Rockefeller's journey, what would it be? Share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring amazing stories and learning how to shape your future.